Hi and welcome to our second YouTube video where we're going to teach you how to make a mask extender and NHS rainbow badge using robbing DK wool with a 3mm hook. Hi and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to show you how to make the NHS head mask extenders and the rainbow badges. Here is an example of what we've made so far and what we've been delivering to those in the Dudley area. Right, so I've made a slip knot onto my hook. Now I'm going to place my hook like that and just take my wool around my fingers. So go around the top one, then under your middle one, and then over your ring finger and then there. That's how I like to hold my wool. Now I know from teaching crochet that lots of people like to hold their wool in different ways, and as far as I'm concerned, as long as you can do the stitch, it doesn't really matter how you hold your wool. For me personally, I find this great. The way that that I do this now, I used to hold it very differently and it gave me repetitive strain injury. So holding my wool like this allows my fingers to relax, because my fingers only do that, and I have got a bad finger, so this is actually proven that I can relax my fingers. I hold my wool like that and allow this part of my fingers to do the work that I need them to do, which is to hold the tension, because you notice here in these little gaps here between your fingers, these bits there's no gaps, but here there's slight gaps, and that allows your fingers to move, your wool to move freely through your fingers depending on how you have your fingers spread or how tight you have them. So what you do is make sure that you've got enough so it's not moving too fast, but just enough so you can actually allow the wool to move. Now the second thing that I do is I take my hook out of my hand the way it was sitting there, and I take it into my right hand because I use my right hand to crochet with. I then use my middle finger and my thumb to then hold the knot like I showed you in the slip knot. Now some people prefer to hold it that way. That is perfectly fine, obviously as long as you can get your tension, and they work like so, or they work like that, holding like that. I work like I'm Charlie Chaplin. I like to hold mine as if it's a cigar. So, and I like to work that way because this allows this finger to gauge my tension and to help me move, because then I can move with it. So it gives me a little bit more flexibility in how I do it. Now that's just my style of crocheting. You may develop a different style based on what you and how you like to do things. So don't worry if you do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a chain. Now, if you've never done a chain before, this is what you need to do. So you've created your slip knot. You will now have your wool on your fingers. Now if you've never crocheted before, let me just remind you, this is something that you can do this part, the chain, and you can keep doing it until you feel comfortable with your hook and your wool. This will give you, it's a great exercise for finding how the wool should feel in your fingers, and you will be able to identify with the chain whether or not you're doing it okay, because you'll notice on your chain you might have big loops and then tight loops, and then all of a sudden it will suddenly start to be more consistent and look a lot neater. Now if you want to do that, if you've never crocheted before, I suggest you just carry on the chain for a good few hours until you can see that you've got a consistent chain. That would be my advice. But if you can crochet, we're going to move on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and pick our wool up. So I say pick up, but in patterns you will notice, and other people will say yarn over, but when you pick up your wool, make sure your hook is facing out. Okay, so pick up your wool and you make a chain. So this is your first chain link. So pick up your wool once, only turn it once, and then take it through. You need to do this 15 times. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then climb your ladder, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, and then chain an extra 2, because we are going to do what's known as a half treble, and the height of a half treble is the same as 2 chains. So when we come back into this chain here, this is where we're going to go into our third chain. So pick up your wool again and you go through that third chain, and you should be able to see 3 loops are now on your hook. Okay, so pick up your wool and take that all the way through the first loop, then take it through the second loop and take it through that one. So you've pulled that loop of wool through the first, the second and the third loop, and it should look a little bit like that. So we're going to do that again, and we're going to do all along here. So just make sure that as you're doing it, you're doing it into the front part of the chain, and the front part of the chain looks like a plait. Okay, if you're doing it into the other side, it will look more like what you would expect a chain link to look like. Okay, so if you're the front is where it looks like a plait. So I'm going to do that a couple of more times until I've finished. So 1, and that's our first bit. Now normally what I do is I have a big bowl and I do lots of these. So there's another one there, and I'll do probably about 10, and then I'll work my way through them. So you're not just constantly changing the colour, you can just work on one colour and do 10, 20, 30, 50, whichever, which is the same as what I've done with the rainbow ones here. I've made the centre part, so I have about 20 in there to work on, and that gives me it kind of keeps me going, because then I know, right, once I've done 20 I can complete. So here are my scissors. I'm not going to make it really long, because what I'm going to do now, if you've never done it before, some of you may have, pick up my second colour, which is my orange, is I'm going to just pull that through first, sorry. So just pull it all the way through, so pick it up and just pull it through and pull it tight. Now to get rid of our ends and to save ourselves a job, so all we have to do is, let me just show you what I haven't cut, is you'll have this happen, and all I have to do is pull them through, and then I can just snip them, and that's it. I don't have to weave them in. The only one I have to weave in is the last one, which is on the navy, and just weave it into the end. But these ones I can just snip, because I've actually crocheted over them as I've been doing each row. So any messy bits like this here, I can just pull and just neaten up. If I see any messy bits, I can just do that, if there's anything there. So there we go. So we're going to now do our second colour. So what we do, or what I do, is I kind of have my wool like that. I'm not going to knot it like I normally do, and the reason why I've stopped doing that on this particular make is because the knots were becoming, you could see them quite easily. Now on other makes it's not seen so much. So I take my hook through a stitch head, so you should have, sorry my hands are in the way, you should have, if I can show you, because I'm using a much smaller hook than you need for formula, which actually I haven't told you, you should have 2, sorry about the lighting, you should have 2 just over there. So if you are underneath it, you should have 2 on top of your hook there. So I'm going to grab my wool without knotting it to my hook or knotting it inside of the wool. I'm just going to take it like that, and I'm going to pull it through so I have a loop there, and I'm still holding it just there. And what I'm going to do is, obviously I say this, but it can be quite fiddly, so just hold it in your hand there and pull the wool around. Okay, so you should still have your loop there. Pick up your wool and take it through and make a chain. Okay, the next thing you need to do to secure it is to go into the next stitch like so, pick up your wool again, and then make a double crochet by pulling the wool all the way through those 2 loops. So I'll show you that again. Go through the stitch head, pick up the wool, pull it through, and you should have 2, pick it up again and take it through. Now that's called yarn over. Okay, when you pick your wool up, it's actually called yarn over. So yarn over the hook, pull it through the loop, yarn over again and pull through again. So that's 1, 2, 3, we've done 4 there. This one here is going to count as one of our stitches. So I'm going to just carry on quickly and take it to the end. So we're just going to keep doing that until we get 1 before the end. And there's a reason for that, because we are going to increase our stitches. Okay, so I've done one before the end. So an increase is 2 double crochets into the same stitch head. So let's do 1, pick up the yarn or yarn over, take it through, go through the same hole again, pick up the yarn and go through. And as you can see, there are 2 stitches now inside that one. Okay, but we've got these messy things here. So now I'm going to go into this part of the stitch. I'm basically going to go around the column of this, the half treble that we made at the beginning as my stitch space. So I'm going to pull this wool to the left. I'm going to go underneath that post, pick up my wool and create a double crochet, and I'm going to do the same again. Then I'm going to go around into the first stitch of that post, stitch head, I call them stitch heads, while that wool is in line, so this bit here is in line with the top of that row, and then I can just crochet around it, and the shorter it gets, the easier it gets. So I'm going to go into that stitch head. Okay, so as you can see, I'm not in the hole here where we've done our first stitches, I'm actually in the stitch head or the chain. Okay, so pick up the wool and pull it through again, another double crochet, go through your loop, pick up your wool, there you go. And what's happened here is that's going to create our semicircle or our rounded edge. So all we do now is we do our double crochets. So by keeping that just above those stitch heads, I can actually go around it. I'm going to lift the light up a little bit so you can actually see much better, because we're getting a lot of shadow. So there we go. So I'm just going around. Now this one's a little bit awkward because I'm actually going into the bottom of the chain, so you can't actually see the chain heads as well as you'd like. So what you do is you find those posts, see all those posts? And just find the bottom edge and just go straight through there, and that will identify your stitch head. So find the bottom, which is there, push your hook through, yarn over and do it that way. Okie dokie. Take your hook through there, pick up your wool, yarn over, pick up your wool, yarn over. There we go. Now our wool here now isn't really important because we've got enough being weaved in, so now it's kind of secure. So as we come to cut it, all of those stitches will hold that wool in place, so you won't have any wool, hopefully, coming out and looking messy. So again, we take it all the way to the end, bar 1, because we need that bar 1, or that 1 on the end, to put our increase into, to create that rounded edge that we're looking for. Okay, now I do use my left hand in crocheting a lot more than some people do. I like to twist my wrist and I like to work it a little bit more, but I never have my wool in my crochet hand, or my crochet hook hand, or hook hand, whichever you want to call it. So I've done a double increase into that one. Now this one's a little bit more tricky because you've got to find the end of where you started. So that's where our start was. So there we go. And we're going to go into this stitch head here. Okay, oh, and double increase. So we've got 1, 2, 3 increases to the ends. Get out of my way, you naughty thing. So I've noticed I've made a bit of a boo-boo there because I didn't pull the wool around. So we've met up with our stitch there, by the way, but I didn't pull that with the red as I was going around. In fact, no, that's my start, isn't it? I didn't make a boo-boo. Yes, I did make a boo-boo because I should have weaved that in. So you can do the same with that, but I'll show you on the next round. So we've come to the end, so I'm just going to go into the chain there, and I'm just going to slip stitch. So all we do is where we've met this one here, in fact I shouldn't even be in that one there because I'm making that into an increase. So that one's into that stitch there. So if you find it's a little bit too tight, just chain an extra one to give you that little bit of leeway, and there you go. If you have any questions, just give me a shout and I'm more than happy to help answer them if you're struggling to see some of the things I'm doing. These are some of our first videos, so it's really hard to adapt. We're still adapting, we're still learning, and we're trying to share as much as we can. So I'm going to put my wool into my hand, like so. Pick up this part, put my hook to where I want it to be, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch it like that between those, so it's like that basically. Okay, then I'm going to pick up my wool, pull it through, chain one, and I'm going to chain two this time, and you can do the same on the previous row as well. It'll give you just a little bit more something to pull on when you come to pull your stitches together. So where before I didn't have my yellow or my orange wool weaved in by hand, I'm going to do it this time by bringing it to the left hand side of my hook, over my hook if you notice, and to the left hand side there. And then what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start doing double crochets like so. Now go all the way to the end, and I'm going to do this pretty quick, so you can pause it and watch it again if you want to know how to do a double crochet. So it's just through the hole, pick up your wool, pick it up again, and then go through it, and that's double crochet. So let's do some more. And then what we're going to do, we're going to stop when we see the increase from the previous row. Okay? So where is my increase from the previous row? So there it is, okay? So we've got 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go into this one, because on this row what we're going to do, we're going to increase once, then stitch, then increase, then stitch, then increase. So let's just look at where we are. So what you can do is you can look for the centre of your getting a bit mucky there. Look for the centre and then you can count from there. Now that's what I do, because I tend to do this from my head. So if that's my top one where I'm going to increase, that was going to be my single, and this is going to be my increase here. So let's increase there. So I'm going back in with another double crochet, and then one there, and then in the next one I'm going to increase. So I can put that back down there. One, two, and usually I'm not this fiddly doing it, but because I'm doing it slow and I'm having to do it and look at the camera and look at what I'm doing to see that I'm in position, because obviously you keep relaxing, I keep moving. So one stitch, and then we're going to do the next increase. So there's only ever 3 increases. Okay, so now we're going to do singles. So we're going to do singles, so it's just 1 double crochet into every stitch. So now we're coming up on our end piece of wool, which is flapping around and getting in my way and getting on my nerves. So like we did with the yellow, we're going to draw it in line with the top of that row so it doesn't get in the way of our stitch heads. So let's go underneath those. So we're coming right up to it now, so it will get secure now on our next stitch. So there we go. Oh, I could do with a beanbag for my arms. This really hurts. Do you know what? When you're watching YouTubers and you're going, oh man, that's a rubbish video, or that could have been done better. Believe me, it's not as simple as it looks. So I'm going to finish this row in a second, and I'm going to have a jig around. So you might find when you come back on the next fading, it looks slightly different. So we are coming up to our increases again. So let's get our stitch marker and find our centre, and then we can count. So we know that one is going to be our increase, then we're going to have a single, and then we're going to increase here. So we can do another single and then an increase. Okay, so 1, oops, okay, so we've jumped a little bit forward, we've added on our neon green, and I have weaved in my yellow with the double crochet. Okay, so I've found my centre and I've counted 1, 2 from there, and that's going to be my increase into this one. So increase quickly, 1, 2, and then we're going to do our singles, 1 and 2 into there, like so. Take out that part, just grab a bit more wool, position your wool again. So I haven't done my increase to there, have I? No, I haven't. So my increase there, 1, 2. Yep. So there's my increase. Always good to use a stitch marker to find it because it's really easy to get lost. 1, 2 there, and then singles here. So you can see how you've got those increases there, and that's there into there, so you know that you're roughly right. Sometimes you can go a little too far, but just double check. Okay, so that's that row. So I'm going to make on the second round. So the next rounds that you're going to do, obviously, you can follow the same pattern, and on each row, let me just find my scissors, sorry about that. On each row that you do, so we've got blue next, you find yours, you do the same method by finding your centre, and then you can count your stitches back. So on the blue you're going to do 3, so you're going to go 1, 2, 3, so find your centre there. So let's just do an example just to give you a clue. Find your centre, which is there. You're going to count 1, 2, 3, your increase is going to be here, right there. In fact, if you look properly, you can actually see the increases that we've done prior in the orange and the yellow, and how our increase has gone there, and the same with that. Okay, and you can see how those gradual increases have created this lovely circle shape. So as we go up our colours, as we've done here, so we've gone 1 in the yellow, 2 in the green, we'll go blue, we'll go 3, and then in the purple we will go 4, and then in the last colour, which is our navy / indigo, we're going to go up 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 increase. Find your centre, and that'll give you your side. Okay, now I'm going to busily catch up with that, and then I'll show you where we are.